Welcome to Just Jokes, the series where we, as infinite individuals, decipher, decode, and decolonize all the ways in which the religions that run the world use the banking system to produce products that teach all of us to worship the elite and worship the big J's and worship Jesus as victims of this own spirit Semitic system. And this is where you can see that I'm coming from the perspective of being a Native American to America, being an individual who actually lived in this land before a Semitic system used very many hundreds of broken treaties to steal everything from me and then lie to me about my own history while teaching me that I'm a problem that they need to solve with their language and their religion and their idea of God and so forth. Ha 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 ha! Just jokes. So we can see in real life that the religions who run the banking system, Hollywood, and the entire genocidal unification operation that we're taught to call the New World Order, as it says on the back of the US dollar bill, have all the power they want. These rich people who use money to steal land from Native Americans have all the power they want, and they've spread their legal system by illegally lying to indigenous peoples about everything, literally everything. That's why we're taught now that white people were in America first when they had to break treaties to steal everything from the indigenous individuals that they're actually still eradicating and harvesting through the industries of Hollywood and all operations of the US government. Sadly, all those indigenous women going missing, not a coincidence. This is the operation. Ha ha ha, just jokes. So it is 2023 as I'm recording this, and we can all see as a human collective, every TV show says it, any law show about police, any legal show shows us that rich people can use their money to get away with whatever they want, because that's actually how rich people use their money to steal this land to even create America. So every industry and institution in America was created by racist religions using their idea of God to make money, manipulating the emotions of my ancestors, manipulating the emotions of Native Americans and indigenous peoples who lived here first. And now, because they've manipulated our emotions so much that we're not even speaking our old languages, I'm forced to speak a language that I did not create. And this makes me a slave in their eyes to the men who wrote the Bible. So this is why the U's, the big J's, are obsessed with assimilating people of color just so they can alienate us further. Because if they just left us alone, we would be happy in America. But because they use money to steal our land, now they can force us to speak English and they force us to worship child sacrifice. Ha 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 ha! Just jokes. So we can see that rich people have the power to be as free as they want. If you have money, you can pay off the law, you can pay off the police. If you have money, you can get away with anything because you worship the God that brought the banking system into America by doing anything it wanted to children. Whereas all the poor people, all the poor children, when you're born in this land, you become a slave to the corporation that's using money to steal everything from Native Americans. And now this is where we can see that all poor people are literally slaves to the Semitic system. This is why poor people exchange their currency, their ultimate currency with God, time, and how they spend the time in their lives to serve the men, serve the Masons, who are using all the past lives of Metatron to teach us that we only live once. And that's how they make money, making us scared of death. Ha 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 ha! Just jokes. So it's actually no coincidence that anytime a slave to the Semitic system starts to speak up about the truth or the history behind how the banking system has used money to manipulate the emotions of men who were actually free before colonizers consumed our creativity, no coincidence that once a poor person starts to say anything around that realm, all the rich people who get the white privilege and benefits of the system will use their power over the media and use their power, use their influence over all the organizations that manipulate how we see God and how we see consciousness to label that poor person anti-Semitic. Ha 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 ha. Just jokes. A poor person who speaks up about the truth of how a Semitic system stole land from Native Americans will be labeled anti-Semitic no matter how much that slave is actually a Jew in the eyes of Jehovah. So literally, if you are circumcised through Abraham's covenant, then you are a Jew in the eyes of Jehovah. So you cannot be anti-Semitic. You actually perform the flesh sacrifice. Now, you did not consent to it. That's because the Jews created Christianity to indoctrinate all of us into Abraham's covenant. Ha 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 ha. Just jokes. But this is explicitly why we get circumcised, because all Christians are serving the Jews, because all Christians are sacrificing their flesh on the cross to the Merkaba that's manipulating the currency and communications of the world. They stole all this from Metatron. That's why they're using all of Metatron's past lives to teach us that we only live once. Ha 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 ha. Just jokes. So calling people of color who have been circumcised through Abraham's covenant anti-Semitic is the ultimate form of racism, especially when we see that Semitic as the definition, the literal definition of the word. Okay, I care about the actual language of things and the truth behind words. Semitic refers to Afro-Asiatic peoples who are speaking languages that Nabu created, who are speaking languages that Ningazita created, that Mercury, Metatron created. Those are black people. So to be Semitic means to be black, and this is where we can see that Jesus was black before the who call us anti-Semitic for speaking about the truth whitewashed him to teach us to worship child sacrifice. Ha 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 ha! Calling people of color anti-Semitic when Semitic literally defines people of color is the ultimate form of racism, and this is how white people are using the past of black people to erase the future of black people, and they're using the history of black people to rewrite the past so that they can whitewash the future, and now they're always right and we are always lack. We are always be lack. And this is the witchcraft that rich people use to manipulate poor people to keep supporting a system, keep slaving away to support a system that is never slaved away to support them. The system that white people support forces us to slave away to support them, but they don't support us in any way. This is why the black indigenous peoples of Wakanda, literally Native America, Wakanda, look it up, were happy alone in their own land with all their own resources before the Jews who worship a jealous God became jealous of everything we have and paid the KKK to enslave our children for centuries. Ha 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 ha! Just facts. Just jokes, factual jokes. Here are the facts that the banking system, owned by the racist religions who are erasing my culture, refuse to teach me over the 20 plus years of my mandatory schooling so that I can be a good slave to the system that is destroying the environment and lying on my name. The European Russian banking system that owns and operates all the slavery systemic situations in every country of the Americas is very specifically owned by the racist religions that created and used the term Indian and black and mulatto and nigger and colored to erase the indigenous individuality of my people. And more explicitly, the religions that created these terms to erase the individuality and the sovereignty of my people are actually using our currency to make money for themselves. And this is the whole point of them wearing blackface when they created the industry out of cannibalizing our flesh, objectively. But this is why you're going to see so many cannibal jokes in the Hollywood industry, because this is the vibe that they've built it out of, cannibalizing the children of God, and then they teach Christians to worship the idea of drinking Jesus' blood to go to heaven. That's an open ritual that they are normalizing, showing you what they do to us when they're invading our land, cannibalizing our flesh, and then putting on blackface so they can teach us that we're from somewhere else. Just jokes. In fact, all forms of systemic slavery that white men have made money bringing to the black individuals that they want to bring black to have been explicitly justified by the worship of a jealous God, Elkanah, specifically, jealous Jehovah. You are going to see that all this horrible slavery in America has only supported and been justified and made money for the racist religions that worship a jealous, all-consuming fire who told them that they are justified doing whatever it takes to steal everything from me and my family and all the poor people in America. The religions that worship Elkanah feel like they are justified doing whatever it takes to enslave our souls in the metaverse matrix they stole from Metatron. So God needs me to tell you, since no one else will, that the Christians who own and operate the KKK and thus created the America out of cannibalizing the cultures of KuKluxKlan have been explicitly commanded, paid, and rewarded for using so many broken treaties and horribly, unspeakably violent acts to eradicate the billions of indigenous peoples, men, women, and children, so that the banking system can make America great. And this is the entire history of how white people have created every single country in America so that they can teach us that they were here first and God gave them this land. They had to do horrible genocide to billions of people, and it actually made them money. So this is why we're in a culture that is obsessed with guns and warfare and murder. Literally, when just speaking this language, slang for being successful when you're making money is, I'm making a killing. I'm making a killing. Where do you think that came from? That came from the Englishmen who came in and saw all the indigenous children, saw all the money they could make out of these children, and were like, oh, we're going to make a killing out of these kids. We should be the KKK. Yeah, we're going to make a killing out of KuKluxKlan's children, out of KuKluxKlan's kids. Kill them. Literally. And this is exactly what built the Hollywood entertainment industry. This is the exact mentality that brought English into the lands that now teach us that God is one all-consuming jealous fire who needs us to worship him because he created us to serve him. This is what they had to do to create this system that we are so privileged to support right now. Woohoo. So because the Christians were paid, explicitly paid by the Russian banking system to rape, enslave, and cannibalize, consume, erase the billions of indigenous children that were living in indigenous America before Europe invaded, they had to do horribly unspeakable things for a long amount of time. You know, just way too long to be doing that many evil things. It weighs on my soul very much. It's so heavy how atrocious the history of this land is. All because white people worship a jealous God that says they are justified doing whatever it takes to get what they want, while appearing like they're the good guys and all the children that they're sacrificing to their system are the villains. They had to use this behavior and use this energy to expand from the east to the west. So that's the whole point of westward expansion, and this is where we get manifest destiny. Literally, the whole idea of manifest destiny was, hey, white people, you can come out here and use Native Americans to do whatever you want, and it's all justified in the eyes of the jealous God, in the true Jehovah, the one true Jew, Jesus, Jehovah. And this is literally Westworld. I'm actually telling the truth right now, because this is the only reason why the industry that I'm talking about created Westworld as a show, because they are obsessed with murdering Native Americans and glorifying that time of westward expansion. So this is how California was created, by men making a killing, white men scalping indigenous peoples and getting paid by the racist religious banking system that doesn't want to be named, but we know who they are, the J. All justified by the J, and this is why they own everything now. But we don't get to talk about it, but they get to tell us what to do, and they get to circumcise us at birth against our consent while still saying we're not a part of their family. So we're just slaves to their family, and this is, again, Abraham's covenant. Okay, so when you look at Abraham's covenant, you're going to see that circumcision is rooted to God telling Abraham to enslave the indigenous peoples of North, South, and Central America. And this is why Native Americans were not circumcised before Masons came in with their idea of how God did not make us perfectly. So they teach us, they weaponize our truths. They steal our wisdom to then sell us their lies. They steal our truth to sell their lies, our wisdom to sell their knowledge. Our wisdom is true, their knowledge is lies. So indigenous people say, God made us perfectly. Our penis has a foreskin because God wants to protect our gland from the outside world. But then the Masons who are thinking about our dicks, the J's, the U's, who are thinking ooh about all the boy dicks, they say that the one true God did make us perfectly except for our penises. So to save our souls, to help us, they're going to be the superhero medical men who use the modern medical industry and take their metal to actually mutilate our flesh and sacrifice us to their system, because that's how they teach us to think about saving our souls. This is the true history of slavery. And it's all rooted in the idea of serving the one true God. So I'm not wrong. And again, this is not anti-Semitic. This is, God is forcing me to say this, and I'm circumcised. So I'm forced to care because I've been mutilated by the men who stole my land and used the truth to sell me lies. They use the idea God made you perfectly. Oh, except for your penis, little boy. We need to think about all the boy penises. Like, this is their imagination. Bro, oh my God. Tweak. So tweak. And this is why the entertainment industry is so obsessed with gay culture, and specifically this transgender agenda that people are talking about, where especially Orlando Brown, big whistleblower on the transgender agenda, but people have been talking about it for decades because this has been the thing. It's really rooted in them worshiping the idea that God did not make us perfectly. So if you enter the industry as a boy, they want you to make money as a girl. And if you enter as a girl, they want you to make money as a boy, because that's you showing that you agree God did not make you perfectly. And now you need to change your body to serve the true God, which is the government that is mutilating you. Just jokes. Ooh, just factual jokes. So all of this mutilation and this monetary manipulation so that Masons can build their new world off of systemic slavery is entirely rooted in how the racist religions that created Hollywood wanted to show themselves to us in the first movie that the US made as their blockbuster, which is Birth of a Nation. We can see right there in the first movie that Hollywood produces, Birth of a Nation, aka the Klansmen, that everything I'm saying right here is correct. I am speaking the absolute truth. The Jews paid the Christians to create the Klansmen as the first Hollywood superhero blockbuster. And all Hollywood has been building upon what the KKK laid down in that movie. So in America's first Hollywood blockbuster, Birth of a Nation, the Klansmen, the Jews go through extensive lengths to paint the violent Christians who dress up as the KKK to kill as victorious superheroes, whereas the that they're killing and the indigenous passive populations are the black supervillains. So this is where we get the creation of white and black culture, where white people created it, because white people had to put on blackface to teach us that we're black. And this is the creating Birth of a Nation to teach all of us that the KKK, who kill indigenous are superheroes, whereas all the indigenous cultures who don't worship the sacrifice of Jesus are the supervillains, and they are the niggards. So this is where we see the history of white people calling us niggards. But you know, the actual word. But this is, right, the slur word. But I'm saying the real word, because it came from a real word. So niggard is this same KKK, the same Christians who are putting on blackface to teach us as black people that we need to be lack. They're teaching us that we need to be lack because they perceive us as niggards. So when you look at English definition for niggard or niggardly, it means stingy. So when the worship jealousy, they can only perceive our generosity as stinginess because they're already jealous. If they worshiped a happy God, let's say jealous Jehovah was actually happy alone, so now he's not jealous, then the Jews wouldn't feel like they're justified doing whatever it takes to steal everything from us and then use us to teach us that we're bad people. But this is explicitly how Hollywood is created, and this is explicitly why blackface is rooted in the genocide and erasure of indigenous peoples based on how this religious banking system wants to make money, whitewashing the entire history of planet Earth. Just jokes, right? So it's not hard to see in 2023 that the who run Hollywood and run the entertainment industry have used their manipulation of the media to make all of us as humans love white people and hate black people. This is why people love to justify the murder and genocide of black people and say black people don't matter. And now the police can make all their money killing black people because, again, this is rooted in the history of the fact that the police are the KKK who have been making their money killing indigenous and so that they can steal our resources and then put on blackface as they're also in the KKK, and now they can teach the world what it means to be black. This is really rooted in America believing that you are what you eat. So the deeper fact is this system is obsessed with eating meat. You literally see it right here in the word. Each time we meet someone, it's the same word as meat. Why do you think in English, in this Jewish language, why do you think meat and meat are the same word? I'll just give you some time to think about that right now. Why do you think meat and meat are the same word in a language that is built on the cannibalization of indigenous culture? I wonder if there's a connection there. I know it's really hard to think about if there is a connection there. I'm trying to wrap my mind about it. See, I'm already stuttering because I can't wrap my mind around the connection. You know, meat and meat. Why would the Europeans, who are obsessed with building an industry out of abusing animals just so they can eat meat that they're overall wasting, obsessed with meeting new cultures and focusing on our meat? Why do they call meat meat? Could it be, like, okay, here's an idea. Could it be that the individuals who created English are obsessed with eating everyone they meet? If the individuals who created English are obsessed with eating everyone they meet, that would explain why they worship a jealous God who they describe as an all-consuming fire. It's not Odin's fire. It's not like Metatron's all-creative fire. The Jews explicitly say they worship Elkanah, a jealous, all-consuming fire. And that's why they want to eat every man that they meet. And they always want to meet more meat. Every time they meet some meat, they get to eat. And now they feel justified building an industry out of cannibalizing flesh. because God said so. You know, just connections. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. These are just jokes. Ha 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 ha. Regardless how you feel about these jokes, we can see that we are in a culture where we are taught to love white people and hate black people. And it's right there. It's weaponized in the language of black. Each time you blackball someone or you blacklist someone, so the people who made this language are showing us that the idea when they create blackness, it's always about removing things and calling something dirty so that you can clean it away. And then this is where we get white people being obsessed with ethnic cleansing and obsessed with assimilating indigenous children so they can steal our land and teach us that we're from somewhere else. And then that's their form of intelligence, making us a slave to a system so that we can support people who have never supported us. Literally. Haha. So we can see that the Masons have worked very hard to use their money to manipulate the media so that white people view the Ku Klux Klan's cannibalistic desires, their cannibalistic projections, as God's winners. But then they perceive KuKluxKlan's indigenous families, indigenous perceivers, as God's losers. Literally. So white people perceive white people as winners, the KKK wins, and then black people are losers. KuKluxKlan loses. And then this is where they create the Spider-Man energy out of that, and now you can see that Spider-Man is supposed to be a loser, but really he's masquerading as a loser so that he can relate with all the other losers, when in reality he's a winner, and this is where Spider-Man is their version of Mercury. So this is a major fact, a major fact that God needs me to share with you and everybody. When you see how the produced Birth of a Nation, aka the Klansmen, and you can clearly see that white people are wearing blackface so that they can portray the indigenous cultures that they are violently erasing and eradicating as savages, you can explicitly see, we can all explicitly see that the concept of using blackface to entertain the world is actually created, authorized, and encouraged by the Jews who created Birth of a Nation and first used their banking system to make white people believe in the erasure of indigenous cultures that they're now calling black. Blackface is encouraged by the Jews who own the entertainment industry to this very day. That's actually why we still see so many people doing blackface to this very day. It's a ritual to them. Blackface is only now more controversial because white people, after so many centuries of being entertained by the genocide of Indians, are only just now starting to become a little more empathetic to the idea that worshiping the murder and slavery and erasure and cannibalization and replacement of the cultures that they call black is not very nice. It's not very kind to demonize the black people that you're trying to make money off of. So, you know, they try to develop empathy by acting like they care, so that they can keep doing what they're doing, but, you know, with a new costume, KKK style. Oh, white people. God needs me to tell the entire universe and to really root this truth in existence, because everything I just shared is explicitly true, and we need to super root it in the fact that blackface itself as a practice comes out of cannibalizing indigenous children. Because Americans, the Europeans who invaded indigenous America, believe they are what you eat. That's the American Jewish Christian phrase, you are what you eat. This is where their worship of a jealous, all-consuming fire leads them to feeling like they can eat the cultures that they want to replace, and then they'll treat our skin like a costume. So this literally actually blackface It's disgusting. It's sad. Like, but this is reality. This is why they have us worship Christopher Columbus. Blackface really comes from Christopher Columbus and all of his cronies, the Englishmen who like to meet new meat so they can eat every meat that they meet. Skinning indigenous peoples and wearing our skin like costumes. This is like the origin of the KKK on the realest level that no one who benefits from white privilege is ever going to share with you, because their white guilt would not allow them to share this. But this is the truth. This is the explicit truth behind Christopher Columbus Day. This is why they have us worship and celebrate Thanksgiving. Blackface is rooted in the fact that Christopher Columbus would wear our skin as a costume after he raped us and killed us and stole our resources, and then taught us that we're evil, that he needs to eradicate with jealous Jehovah, the one true God, with Jesus, the one true Son, so they can spread the new world fire. This is where blackface comes from, because they would skin indigenous peoples to wear us as a costume and then eat our flesh, because the point is to have us inside and out. Do you understand me? This is real. This is the actual reality of blackface in America and why the US government has any power in America. This is why the US government taught us to worship Christopher Columbus Day, because these are the rituals that the presidents and politicians perform in order to make America great. And this is what blackface is about. It's about Christopher Columbus colonizing KuKluxKlan's culture by cannibalizing our flesh and then skinning us so that they can have our meat inside of them and then our skin outside of them. And now they can entertain all the white people in Hollywood. Ha 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 ha. Just facts. So we can see in the entire history of America, the entertainment industry, everything that I shared here, just the English language with meat and meat, that use blackface to make money because they worship the idea of an all-consuming, fiery, jealous God telling them to consume all the meat that they meet, to eat all the meat that they meet. So each time they meet a new form of meat, now they feel like they can eat us because that allows them to beat us. This is the true history of slavery. You need to know that the slave masters were eating their slaves because of everything that I'm sharing here. This is what Christopher Columbus means to them. Cannibalism. I don't want to be aware of this. I've been fasting for years thinking that I was going to be more of like a health teacher. I didn't think that I would have to deal with the deep, dark history of America. But because I care about the roots of our health, the roots of our health are rooted in the history of our past. So we can't ignore the true history of why we're so unhealthy today. Because this is real. This is the reality of why white people worship the idea of killing kids to go to heaven. Seriously. God damn. This is sad. So blackface is controversial because people are very barely starting to catch on to the fact that use blackface to rape and erase the Native Americans that they are replacing with their white people, with their white men, with their European clones. And this is the whole point of worshiping Christopher Columbus, the cannibal. Can I ball? Literally, to them, when they are cannibals, that's them asking, can I ball? Can I play? But it's also them worshiping Baal, Balenciaga. Okay, when you go look up Baal, you're going to see that that's a biblical god. So Baal, Jehovah, it's all these spirits teaching you to worship child sacrifice so that you can sacrifice your children to a system that is consuming us. But then, of course, the whole point is white people get the privilege of not being treated nearly as unfairly as the indigenous cultures that are actually being erased because we're on the outside. We're the ones that Jehovah is jealous of. Literally, Jehovah is jealous of the gods that came before him. And we can historically see that indigenous peoples were in America before the Jews Jews use their jealous God to teach us that they were here first. So this is the point. Like, this is real spiritual warfare happening in real life. You see it in real life all the time. It's all about, who do you worship? If you worship a jealous God, then your vibration is lower than I can imagine. Because putting myself in God's shoes real quick, I can't be jealous if I'm God. As God, I can't be jealous if I created everything. How am I going to be jealous of my creations when I already have everything I wanted? That's why I could create, because I'm already fulfilled. I'm already happy alone. I can't be jealous of what I created when that's just my creation. I would just go create more. See, so that's not my relationship with God. And if I've had to fast way more than Jesus to get up to this point of being able to make that normal and just like make thinking like that normal, then it's clear that this government actually stole all the past lives of Mercury so they could create Jesus as a superhero who teaches us to worship child sacrifice. And this is, again, the entire history of the KKK never being wrong, no matter how many kids they kill, because they worship the idea of killing the true kid. So now when they kill billions of children, when the Christian military just kills all these children across the world, because none of those children are the true child that got killed by their system over 2,000 years ago, it's all justified by the banks and they can make money off of it. See, like, and this is because they worship jealousy. So do know that anything is justified through jealousy. If you worship a jealous God, you will justify doing whatever it takes to get what you want. And anything you want is going to be some fucked up desire based on you looking outside of yourself. Because if you're just happy alone, you could not be jealous. It's that simple. So when you see white Americans say, you eat, please understand this is exactly how the Jews who paid Christopher Columbus to colonize all the lands in North, South, and Central America feel about indigenous peoples. They feel like because they eat us, they can be us, and then they can beat us. And then that's where we get all the systemic slavery that's allowed the banks to make money teaching us that we are bad people, that we're the villains, that we're anti-Semitic, that we are a problem that they need to solve with their religions, with their money, with their racist technology. So this is why all of America, every country in America is built by white men, Englishmen, cannibalizing indigenous and then turning our flesh into a costume so that they can put on blackface and teach the world that we're evil. Then by teaching the world that we're evil, they justify the genocide of indigenous peoples and black people further. And this is how the white people who want to appear like Jews, because Jews were originally black, Jews were actually Afro-Asiatic. That's still the definition of Semitic when you look it up. So to be Semitic means that you're Afro-Asiatic and you are related to the black cultures of Mercury before Masons wanted to steal all of that and be seen as that too. But somehow the people who use black culture to erase black culture call the black people that they're enslaving anti-Semitic as they cannibalize us in our own land and then lie to us about where we're from. I love it here. Oh, I love white people. And white people love me, clearly. So because Jews believe that they are what they eat, they use white people to enslave black people. They use white cultures to cannibalize black cultures, and now they can use white people to make money teaching us what it means to be black. And then this is how we're all getting whitewashed by the jealous fire projections of the all-consuming God, Jehovah, Elkanah, the Masons who are bringing their new world order into existence. So this is literally why every white person who wants to make money and make it big in the entertainment industry has to actually join the KKK, and join the KKK by killing indigenous and cannibalizing indigenous and then participating in blackface exactly like Christopher Columbus. This is why we can see Justin Bieber singing about killing N-words. We can see Justin Bieber singing literally like they paid him. They paid him to sing about killing indigenous peoples so that he can join the KKK. I'm not making this up. This is real. It's on the internet. You can go see Justin Bieber, look it up. He sings about one less lonely N-word and about killing N-words, making one less lonely N-word so that he can join the KKK. And that's funny. Like, when you listen to the video of him singing, he has his producers and the people who are managing him for money laughing, because this is the true history of America. So it is explicitly clear from Birth of a Nation, The Klansman as the movie, to Wakanda Forever as a movie, that the Jews know for a fact that the indigenous cultures, they are using their racist religions to and erase and replace, are the black people, the true Wakandans that were here first. The indigenous individuals that they are labeling black are the real Wakandans that were in this land before Christopher Columbus started consuming our children and treating our culture like a costume that he can use to be seen as a superhero in. The racist religions who use their banking system to steal all of Wakanda from Native Americans know for an absolute fact that black people were here first. That's why they had to make Birth of a Nation, to get white people hype on killing the black populations that they're cannibalizing and using blackface to depict as evil. Ha ha! This is explicitly why the Masons who make money manipulating all of our emotions have used the Christian KKK to whitewash history through all the movies that Hollywood has been producing up to this very point. They have been using the entertainment industry to educate us on the predictive programming, the profitable projections that these men want us to see. So now we are supporting their power. So when we go to the movies and we get programmed by everything they project at us, we as a population start to perceive those projections. That's how it works. We start to perceive the projections that were being blasted at us through the movies, and now the people can profit. The people who made the movie can profit off their projections, and us as a population, we technically get poorer because we're paying to see a movie that's being created by rich people who want to keep us poor. So that's all vibrational witchcraft as well, which many people in the spiritual community are very much into. But if you're not really into that for yourself, then I recommend for you to start analyzing how you feel about yourself before you go into a movie versus after. And if you're someone who likes to pay money to go see these movies, then perhaps you could start to reflect upon how you're perceiving reality before versus after this movie. Because each and every movie is a projection that programs us to perceive the population a certain way. And this is the whole point of why they created Birth of a Nation, so that they could teach all of us to perceive the KKK white people as good and the indigenous black people as evil. And this is why the police are able to make so much money off of slavery and killing black people, but no one really cares. And they make more money, actually. This is the system. So welcome to It's Just a Joke. Everybody loves jokes, right? You love jokes. I love jokes. You love jokes. I love jokes. I don't know if you love jokes, but if life is a joke, I'm not laughing for too much longer the more I see. And this is where jokes become serious, right? The more you see, the jokes start to become less funny. Jokes that are based in serious situations are really only funny to people who don't deal with those situations on a deep level. So let's think about jokes right there. Very easy. I think everyone can understand that. And if you can't, then learn. Because this is a very concrete example. Someone who has been raped is going to be way more turned off and upset by a joke than someone who has not been. Or even, you don't have to be someone who's been raped, but if you dealt with the threat of being raped, you know that the threat of being raped is very real. Or you know that people in your life have been raped. People get, maybe it's not you, your relationship with God, you haven't gotten. Be grateful, because many people get every day, and those people would not technically find any joke funny because that circumstance is too serious to them. So this is where people who haven't dealt with that, they're more apt to laugh at a joke just because they feel like it's lighter. See how this works? This is literally fire versus water, light versus heavy. So if you actually connected with that experience, your water makes that situation heavy, and you're not really able to laugh about it because it's too heavy. But someone who hasn't connected with it, right? Someone who hasn't dealt with it seriously and internally, they can laugh about it because it's just lighter. It's just like, oh, ha ha ha, I like to laugh. I can laugh about getting raped. You know, like that's people who haven't really dealt with it, or people who are just limited in their awareness. But the more you become aware of humans, you start to see that certain jokes aren't funny. And this is how I feel about cannibalism jokes based on the entire history of Christopher Columbus. Literally. So I have to laugh just so that the algorithm and the racist religions that are manipulating the internet and the metaverse that they stole from Metatron don't take me too seriously. Because this is the stigma that we have been manipulated by, where we're taught to view black people as emotional and angry, and white people as thoughtful and intelligent. So we've literally been taught that slavery is smart, and this is how they've justified all forms of slavery against people of color, but specifically the indigenous peoples that look black. Whereas the white men, because they're making money off of slavery, they're always good people because that's smart, that's intelligent, oh, that's intellectual, you should keep doing that. And here we are, we're still here. So everybody loves jokes. And to the genocide that they generate and profitably project through all the movies that they profit off of is just a joke. All the genocide that they generate and justify through their justice system, just jokes. To the Jews and the Christians, using Jesus to justify generating goods out of genocide is just a joke. A joke that only they can make because we're not allowed to talk about it. But it's just jokes when they say it because it's funny to them. Because they're not the ones that they're victimizing. They're not victims of their own system. But they make all the money teaching us that they're victims of their own system. That's why they can make so many jokes about victimizing the victims of their system. So I am dedicating this branch of my CymaTree to documenting all the jokes that the racist religions, the KKK, the Jews, and the Christians love to use their control over the banking system and everything that the banking system manipulates to share with us. I'm just going to document all the jokes that the religions who run the world and the Masons who made the Matrix share with us through their own profitable productions. So the goal of this series is to prove to you, me, God, and everybody in the entire universe, the entire Atlantean metaverse, that the Jews who created Christianity know for an absolute fact that their Mason men are only able to make money because they are weaponizing the many past lives of Metatron to teach all of us that Jesus needs us to only live once, that Jehovah needs us to only live once, that El-Kanah created us to only live once. Not only that, but I am using this series to prove to you, me, God, and everybody in the universe that the religions who run the world, who use Christianity to erase and replace indigenous peoples, are very aware of the very basic fact that they are weaponizing metal, they're weaponizing masonry, they're weaponizing the medical system, they're weaponizing money, they're manufacturing warfare, so they can actually use their power over the global population to teach all of us that they are God's biggest victims. Literally. The religion that has the entire power over us as a global population uses the genocide of indigenous peoples to teach us that they are bigger victims of their own system than the people that they stole Jesus from are. And this is where we can explicitly see that Jesus was actually black, and they know that. They will make jokes, as we see in this series. We will see in this series that the Jews will make jokes about how they know that Jesus was black, but they are the white men who sold him as a white person to make him more relatable. So they whitewashed Jesus so that they could further justify the genocide of all the black people that they're using blackface to erase and replace. Just jokes, right? Funny. So here in Just Jokes, we're going to see the joke about 4 specific things. 1, love to joke about turning naturally normal circumstances into sexually inappropriate situations. 2, love to joke about racism. More specifically, love to joke about how white people are good, clean, and pure, whereas black people are dirty, evil, and demonic. Like to depict white people as loving and black people as hateful. So basically, just make jokes that make white people look good and black people look bad. And of course, the paradox is they hate black people so much that they have to pay white people to wear blackface after they perform the Christopher Columbus ritual so that they can make money teaching the world to view black people as bad and evil. Way to go. It seems to have worked. It seems to have worked. So blackface is a perfect example, right? And then, of course, another perfect example is, again, the Justin Bieber video where he sings about killing N-words so that he can join the KKK. He's literally talking about how these celebrities boost their careers based on the Christopher Columbus ritual. But of course, right, Justin Bieber was only singing about killing black people as a just joke. It was just a joke. It's just a joke. Justin Bieber singing about killing black people to join the KKK as his producers and managers laugh around him and they record it. Just a joke, not rooted in anything real at all. Oh, you black people are so emotional. You black people are so aggressive. Can't you black people just chill? Can't we just make jokes about killing you and you just shut up and take it? Oh, you're so emotional. Just support Justin Bieber. He just likes to kill niggas. He just likes to kill all these niggas so he can join the KKK. You're the problem. You're the problem, nigga. If you don't agree that Justin Bieber should get to kill to boost his career in the KKK, then you're evil. And that is the mind of a... Just jokes. 3, love to joke about how they use their profitable power and manipulation over the monetary matrix to teach all of us, to make us believe that indigenous individuals are anti-Semitic for speaking about the true history of the genocide that made America great. The genocide that still makes America great to this day. By teaching all of us as a population that they are bigger victims of their own system that they profit off of than the individuals that they use blackface to erase and replace, Jews have successfully use their worship of a jealous God to create a global circumstance where white people are seen as superheroes, whereas black people are seen as super villains. And again, Birth of a Nation, the Klansman, is very concrete proof of the foundation of this very simple fact and where all the movies in Hollywood have come from. So go watch Birth of a Nation for proof that what I'm saying is true. You just have to watch the movie for yourself. And you can, of course, go look up the history behind the movie and the meaning, because everything I'm saying here is true. I'm just making it simple for you so you don't get lost in the semantics of the Semitic system that is constantly benefiting off of the systemic slavery of spiritual souls. 4, Jews love to joke about cannibalism. More specifically, Jews love to joke about objectively cannibalizing children. They love it. We're going to see it a lot in this series. If you don't think this is true, just look at the basic building blocks of Christianity. Jews teach us Christians that drinking the blood of and eating the flesh of the true child of God, Jesus, will take us to a hermetic heaven where we can all be happy with the true father of that true child of God, Jehovah, explicitly because this is actually literally exactly how the Jews feel about KuKluxKlan's culture in America. This is explicitly how the Jews feel about cannibalizing the indigenous children so that they can sacrifice our souls to their system, exactly like the Jesus story. And then this is how they build their new world vision, their new world government, out of the constant slavery of souls, the constant slavery of spirits, out of sadistically stealing everything from the indigenous cultures that they are and then replacing with their blackface entertainment industry. Literally. The religious banking system that the creators of Christianity brought into the indigenous world has been harvesting children for a long time now. In fact, Christians, if you're a Christian, I'm speaking directly to you. All Christians do not realize that they're actually having a huge Jewish joke, just a joke, played on them when they worship Jesus as the only true Son of God. If you, as a Christian, I grew up as a Christian for 20 plus years of my life. Okay, so I know what I'm talking about. If you, as a Christian, have been taught to worship Jesus as the true Son of God, then you are having the biggest joke by a Jew played on you. If you are a Christian that worships Jesus as the true Son of God, you are literally allowing the men who taught you that the one true God wrote the Bible to teach you that you are a false child of God. Literally, like this is what they're doing. Masons created Judaism so they can be the teachers of Metatron's Merkaba. Masons created Christianity so you can be the student of Metatron's Merkaba. And this is how the Masons are using all of Metatron's past lives to teach you and me and everybody that we only live once. This is the point. Just look at history from a literal perspective. Again, we're going to see in culture, the Jews know that Jesus was not a white man. He was black, because Semitic refers to an African Asian person. So overall, the Middle Eastern portion, the combination of Africa and Asia, that Middle Eastern area, that's Jesus. So he's a black man by modern world standards. But the Jews explicitly painted him as a white man because this is the whole new world government agenda, to cannibalize indigenous children and then whitewash them so that all the white people can continue supporting the death of children. And this is what white people worship when they worship the idea that the true child who was black but got whitewashed into a white boy died, so that this system can do whatever it wants to all the children in North, South, and Central America and around the world forever, anywhere it goes. Now, no matter who they kill, it was always justified by the murder of the real kid. That's literally what Christianity has been created to be by the individuals who whitewashed Jesus from a black Jew into a white Jew. But we can explicitly see that black people were Jews first. So again, if you are a black person and you have especially been circumcised through Abraham's covenant and you know the true history of Jesus, in so many levels you cannot be anti-Semitic. And if someone calls you anti-Semitic, just know that they are racist in more ways than they can see, because they don't understand the true history of how Jesus was whitewashed by the individuals that want to be seen as him. But they can't be seen as him, so they just eat everyone like him so that they can beat us at our own game. Literally, this is what they think. This is how they think. If they eat us, they can beat us, and now they can beat us, and then they replace us, and that's the rationale behind whitewashing Jesus while teaching us to drink his blood and eat his flesh to go to heaven. Come on. Just jokes. So Jesus was a black Jew. Objectively, Jesus was a black Jew, and Jews were black first, before white people took credit for what it means to be a Jew, because they're the ones who killed Jesus when he was black, and then they whitewashed him, and now that's their savior, the white version of the black man that they killed. White people's savior is a white version of the black man that they sacrificed to their government. Jesus was objectively, historically, a black Jew, but the religions that run the world are using the KKK to make sure that the white Christian Judeo cultures can paint on blackface to teach us what it actually means to be black. Do you get it? So this is how racist religions run the world. Do you get it? Our entire idea of time has been reset by the murder of a black Jew named Jesus. And then he was whitewashed to justify billions of murders throughout all the indigenous world, because Masons want to make all their money weaponizing the past lives of Metatron to teach all of us that we only live once. Do you get it? Funny joke, right? Funny because it's real, because this is literally the reality. And this is the power of jokes. We can see that jokes are not funny if they're not grounded in reality. And that is why we're going to see this culture is obsessed with cannibalism jokes, because this is the reality of Hollywood. This is the reality of the entertainment industry. This is the reality of Christopher Columbus Day. This is the reality of Thanksgiving, literally. So the only reason they find cannibalism jokes funny is because they enjoy participating in it. That's why black people are the victims of cannibalism, but white people are the victors of cannibalism. So this is all slavery. Do you know that white people were eating black people through the entire time of American slavery, and still up to this day? America is rooted in white people eating black people, because this is what blackface is about. Straight facts. It's not funny. But the power of jokes for comedians of color, especially if you're a comedian of color, especially, is to turn your troublesome traumas into terrific truths. Or to turn your heavy traumas into light truths. So now you can laugh about it. We don't like to laugh about jokes that aren't real, right? So this is where we find the balance in jokes. If a joke isn't real, or if a joke is not anchored in truth, it's not actually funny because we can't resonate with it, right? So this is the sweet spot. You have to relate with a joke enough for it to rub you the right way, but if you have too many emotions about what someone's joking about, that joke's not going to rub you the right way, right? So this is where you get sensitive audiences. You can get people who have a really sensitive internal world. So you can say a joke that goes really well in one audience, but it doesn't do well in this audience because they're way more sensitive. So they did not receive your joke the way that someone else who has a different internal state did. So this is the power of communication. And this is, again, explicitly why we're going to see through this entire series that the Masons who manipulate the matrix through the media with all their money love to joke about killing black people like they had Justin Bieber do. They love to joke about eating the flesh of like they teach us to do with Jesus. It's not a coincidence. It's very intentional. So the Jews who want to call and have been making their money calling black people anti-Semitic know for a fact that Jesus was a black Jew before they made money whitewashing him. They know this. This is objectively why white Jews killed the black, the true Jew. The false white Jews killed the true black Jew, Jesus, so that they could sacrifice him to a system that allows them to further sacrifice all the children in the world. Just have full control over the consciousness of every child that they can consume with jealous Jehovah, Elkanah, their all-consuming fire god. White Jews killed a black Jew and sacrificed him to their desire of starting a new world government that can control all the children in existence. That's where we're at right now. That's why I'm forced to speak English against my consent. So do know that the white Jews were literally calling Jesus, the black Jew, anti-Semitic, as they were making up reasons to kill him and sacrifice his flesh to support their system. Literally. This is a true history of anti-Semitism. So this is how the white Jews that ran the government use the term anti-Semitic to call the Judaism into question of the one true black Jesus. And then by calling his Judaism into question, they were able to kill him because they're saying he's not a true Jew. And then they whitewash him and then teach Christians that the one true son of God, the one true child of God was a Jew. And now all Christians worship a Jew being God because they're saying that they're not the true children of God. And that's the Jewish joke that they're playing on the entire world. Every Christian in existence is having this joke played on them based on the sacrifice of a black Jew. So a white Jew called a black Jew anti-Semitic, and that's why they killed him and turned it into Christianity. And this is literally the history of why Jesus as a black Jew was whitewashed by white men who called him anti-Semitic. Why? Well, there's a real reason. In the eyes of the Jews who ran the government, Jesus, as a black Jew, was anti-Semitic because he was actually anti-systemic. He was anti the system. When you look at the true story of Jesus, he, as a black Jew, was anti-systemic, which really means he was anti-slavery. So the white Jews who ran the government did not like that because the government functions off of slavery. So if they're going to maintain slavery, they have to kill the black Jew who is actually anti-slavery. So they killed him by calling him anti-Semitic, calling his religion into question, and then creating Christianity out of that so they can make all the money they want, teaching everyone that they can do anything as long as they worship the sacrifice of this black man. Jesus did not support the Semitic system that white Jews were using to enslave children. So they called him anti-Semitic, killed him, sacrificed him, and then used his death to reset our entire global idea of time. And now by doing this, the Masons can make money manipulating the entire currency of the globe, and thus how we see physical reality. And that's why they stole the metaverse from Metatron, and now they're able to use the metaverse that they stole from Metatron and all the past lives of Mercury to teach us that we only live once, so we need to trap our consciousness in the Black Mirror future, in Jehovah's Matrix. So this is how the same Semitic system that has whitewashed Black Jesus and killed him based on calling him anti-Semitic has used his sacrifice to teach all of us, against our consent, especially if you're a Native American, that we need to be pro-Semitic. And being pro-Semitic means being pro-systemic slavery. So the fact that the white Jews who own the government killed Black Jesus because they called him anti-Semitic shows us that the Jews are teaching us that they will kill any child of God who does not support their idea of slavery. And this is where they feel justified using their idea of God to enslave all the children that they want to control. And this is why we are circumcised through Abraham's covenant against our consent. This is why Christians are circumcised by the Jews who teach us to worship Jesus, the Black Jew who's been whitewashed into the true white Jew as the only real Son of God. And by worshiping child sacrifice, we now agree that we can kill all the kids we want, and the KKK is only going to win in Hollywood. Justin Bieber and the KKK are just going to keep winning. All the white people who benefit from killing indigenous children are going to make a killing. Literally, this is the language. They're going to eat the meats they meet so they can make a killing. So in the eyes of the government, being anti-Semitic means that you are anti-slavery. Objectively, this is why Jesus was killed. Jesus, as a Black Semitic man, was considered anti-Semitic by the government that wants to enslave all the children in the world. So now we're all taught that we need to be enslaved by the government that killed a Black man. And we're going to look up to the concept of that Black man actually being white. And this is why we have racism today. This is why we have racism in like such a massive degree, because of the whitewashing that this Semitic government wants to engage in so that they can teach all of us to support slavery. But again, Black people created Semitism before the government wanted to enslave us with their idea of Semitism. This is explicitly why Semitic refers to Afro-Asiatic peoples who are speaking the languages that, again, Nabu and Ningishzida brought into the world. Not Abraham, not the Masons or the Jews who are saying that we're anti-Semitic because we're talking about the history of our people. But again, this is how the system needs to trap us in supporting slavery. So do know that each time the rich people who make money off of slavery call poor people anti-Semitic, they're really calling poor people anti-slavery because we're speaking up about the conditions of being enslaved on their system. Seriously. So because the true Jesus was anti-slavery, the fake in the government considered him anti-Semitic. So this is the real reason why Jesus' truth has been whitewashed by the white Jews who use the government and banking system to make money off of systemic slavery as they teach us to serve Christian values. Christmas values. Santa's Satan Claus values. And you don't have to just take my word for it, right? I'm up here speaking, saying all these things that perhaps you haven't heard before. But you don't have to just take my word for it. The whole point of Just Jokes is that I am using all the content that Jews have profited off of producing to prove all the points that I have shared here. Throughout this entire series, we're going to see how the racist religions that run the world and the men who manipulate the matrix are able to use all their entertainment to teach us the truth and tell us what they're doing in jokes, in ways that come off as just jokes. So now the overall population of people who want to maintain the matrix won't take that joke seriously. They won't actually think about why the creators, the producers of these products would connect on these concepts so hard to even turn them into jokes that they would want to project into the population for all of us to perceive. So we're going to see through this series how Jews use their control over the banking system to prove every single point that I have made in this introduction. So before I swing on out of here, do know this truth. God needs me to share this with everyone in the universe. This is the truth. Christianity itself, as a religion, is a just joke. A joke of justice. A just joke of justice is just a joke that Jews have created to justify genocide. When Christians agree that white Jesus is the only true Jew, aka the only true child of God, then this is where Christians agree that they are false children of God. And now every Christian that worships Jesus as a true child of God says that they are a false child of God, and they're actually giving all their power to the Jews. And they don't see that because the whole point of Jesus being a shepherd is that he's leading the sheep to heaven, to greater pastures. And this is how the Jews feel about themselves when they are controlling all the Christians who worship the concept of sacrificing children to their system. This is why you take the J off of J and it becomes you. All right, the universe is forcing me to see right here in this language, you is a female sheep. And we know for a fact here, when you tap into the root of the CymaTree, that projection is perception. So the Jews, right here in their language, they are the ewes. They are the sheep that they perceive in the world because they believe that they are following the one true spirit. So now they feel justified killing black Jesus, whitewashing him into Christianity, and then teaching everyone to follow his sacrifice. And then they're going to perceive all the Christians as sheep because the point is they're the sheep. But now they as a sheep, if they're going to bring their idea of God to earth, they have to embody what it means to be a shepherd for the people. So this is why the created Christianity, and now the Christians view Jesus as their shepherd. That allows the Jews to actually control the Christians with all the money that Masons made out of Metatron's math. Just saying straight facts, and you deserve to know the truth. So, I hope you enjoyed this series. All right, there are going to be lots of just jokes. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. If you have anything that you would like to add. All right, in either direction, positive or negative, just anything, you can comment. All right, go ahead and leave a comment because this is important. God is forcing me to use the products that the religions who are erasing my people have produced, profited off of to make my points. Because if I'm just up here making my points without their entertainment, then that's not actually real to most people, right? I would look like I'm in my ego, and my ego isn't real in this world because it's not well connected. So you're going to see in this series that my ego is going to use all the real world connections that my ego has not produced to prove the points that my ego is making. My ego alone sees these things, and now I can create the connections that allow all these different just jokes to be structured in one web for us to connect on. And then this is how we're going to expand the universe and become more aware of how the media puts the truth right in front of our eyes. It's just that the Masons put us in a low vibration so we don't see the truth in the clearest light. And the whole point of you tapping into the root of the CymaTree and hopefully fasting with me especially is that you're raising your vibration so you can have clairvoyance. And when you have clairvoyance, you're going to have clear voyage in all relationships. Whether that's a relationship with the government, a relationship with a corporation, a relationship with any soul in any way. It's all about you having clairvoyance on the most clear voyage for your relationship with God. If you would like to learn more, visit chaseyourgenes.com. Much love. Peace out. And Christianity's a big joke. A joke that justifies genocide.